Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. The year is 1944. Scottish military troops receive intelligence that the Nazis are trying to merge the Earth and another dimension by combining science and black magic to win the Second World War. They search the island for 3 days and finally locate the Nazis. Karl Ruprecht Krunen at the head of the Nazi soldiers. Karl himself was Hitler's #1 assassin. Rasputin is a black magician whose mission is to open a portal to hell and ensure that the Nazis win the war thanks to the monsters that will come out of it. They have worked for 5 years to achieve this. Rasputin puts on his glove and starts chanting the incantation and finally manages to open a portal. Meanwhile, the Scottish soldiers have completely surrounded the Nazis. The professor, although wounded, takes a grenade in his hand and throws it under the portal. Karl, who sees this, tries to pick up the grenade, but fails and the bomb explodes. As the portal begins to disappear, the black magician Rasputin is pulled in by the portal and passes into the dark world. The portal disappears and the other Nazi soldiers manage to escape. Even though the portal is destroyed, Professor says that there are too many openings and that something from the other world could pass this way. He orders the soldiers to search the area and they are right. They find a monster with a red tail that looks like a monkey, but he is still a child. The soldiers want to kill him, but the professor does not allow it, and his own child adopts him, and they name him Hellboy. 60 years pass. Lisa and Karl find a way to bring Rasputin from the other world to the real world. They hire an explorer and go to a secret holy shrine. They kill the explorer there. The blood of the dead explorer fills the ritual place with blood, and Rasputin comes back to the world. His goal is to capture Hellboy and complete his unfinished business. Agent John Myers sets out on a new mission and goes to the government's secret paranormal research center, where he meets Abe Sapien, a kind of fishman who breathes in water, whose intelligence and senses are 40 times stronger than a normal human being. John meets the professor, who tells him that there is one more person he needs to meet and gives him a tour of the base and brings him to his destination. When he walks in, he sees Hellboy. He can't believe his eyes. He thinks he is something made up. John's mission is to partner with Hellboy and watch and control and keep an eye on him. Hellboy doesn't like John much, but he is convinced to do so. Just then, the red alarms go off, and they get a warning of a monster attack. Hellboy and his team set off for the scene. They sneak into the museum in a garbage truck. They are told that there is a level 5 monster in the museum. The monster has killed 6 security guards. Hellboy goes in alone. He tells the monster to surrender or he will be killed, but it doesn't work. He shoots the monster with his gun. When he shoots him, he thinks he is dead and comes back, but the monster is not dead. They start fighting. The monster throws Hellboy out the window. Suddenly, Rasputin appears and tells Hellboy to come with him, but Hellboy doesn't take him seriously. That moment, the monster attacks Hellboy with his tongue and wounds him. At that moment, his partner John comes and shoots at the monster. Hellboy takes out a special bullet and puts it in his gun and shoots the monster with the chemical bullet. The monster mingles with the public. Hellboy follows him because he has to. It is Halloween, and people think it is a trick. The monster is injured. Hellboy follows the tracks of the monster. John falls down in the middle of the road while following him. He is about to be hit by a car. Hellboy stops the car with one punch and saves John's life. Hellboy following the tracks. Hellboy catches the monster at the subway station. A subway is coming at them. The monster passes through the subway. Hellboy wants to pass through the subway, but other people think that he is the same as the monster, and they do not let him pass. Hellboy finally catches the monster, touches the rails and gives the monster a high degree of electricity, burns him to death, tells John on the radio that he will be late, turns off the tracker. The professor and Abe investigate the crime scene. Abe shows the professor what happened. Abe has the ability to see what happened in the past by touching things. The professor sees that Rasputin released the monster, and that the monster is actually immortal every time the monster dies. 2 monsters will be born instead of the dead monster. The professor suddenly becomes ill. He hides it, but he has cancer and he doesn't want Hellboy to know. Hellboy goes to Liz. Liz is part of the team, but she doesn't want to return to the team. Liz's superpower is to control fire, but she has a hard time controlling it, and it causes huge fires and explosions. The professor comes there and takes Hellboy, and they go back to the base. Abe checks Hellboy's wound and realizes that there are eggs of the monster in his arm, and immediately removes them. The eggs can survive in dark and humid environments. The professor asks the professor to check the subway station first thing tomorrow to see if there are any more eggs of the monster. Meanwhile, while Liz is sleeping, Rasputin visits her and shows her the bad events of her past in her sleep. While Liz is sleeping, she is affected by this and suddenly bursts into flames and explodes in a very powerful way, burning and killing everyone in the hospital where she is located. The next day, Hellboy agents and Abe go to the station to check on the eggs. Abe says, "There are eggs behind the wall." Hellboy breaks the wall. They go in. Carl is there. He hears voices. They lift the log cover, and Abe jumps in the water to find the eggs. Hellboy runs into Carl and goes after him. Abe finds the eggs and starts collecting them, but the monster is in the water too. Abe is attacked from behind. Abe finds a wall and hides in it, but is seriously wounded. Monsters coming out of the water attack the two agents and kill them there. Carl traps the other agent instead of Hellboy. The agent shoots him with his gun, but he doesn't die because Carla Satin is dead. Thanks to Rasputin, he kills the agent and lies down next to him. He pretends to be dead. Hellboy takes him with him, and they return to the base. The professor examines Carl. His eyelids and lips have been removed. The blood in his veins is completely dried up. He realizes that this is not a human being but a puppet and goes downstairs. At that moment, Carl wakes up, puts his false arm back on, puts all the parts of his body back together, and goes downstairs to the professor, where Rasputin tells him that Hellboy is actually going to destroy the world and they cannot stop it. He respects the professor for raising Hellboy and kills him there painlessly. Hellboy and his team learn that Rasputin has fled to Moscow and immediately go after him. Hellboy revives a dead man from the graveyard with black magic and asks him where the secret passage is, and the dead man shows them the way. Hellboy finally catches the person who killed his father. They start fighting. Hellboy shatters his mask just as he is about to finish him off. At the last moment, the trap opens and Hellboy hangs in the air, holding onto a rope. Just as the rope is about to be cut, the agent helps him, and Hellboy catches him by surprise, throws him into the pile. Carl, who is half human, dies because the sand inside him is drained. Liz and John enter a room, but the room is where the monsters breed, and even if they want to get out, the door closes on them. Hellboy jumps down from the top of the room by breaking the wall and starts fighting with the monsters, but he can't do much because there are too many of them. Liz asks to be slapped, and when John slaps him, Liz has a sudden burst of anger and sets fire to everything, destroying the monsters and eggs there. The explosion was so powerful that everyone remained unconscious, while Rasputin captured everyone and demanded that Hellboy use his right hand to open the door to the land of evil. Hellboy refused to do so. Rasputin stole Liz's soul and said that he could get his soul back in exchange for opening the door. Hellboy accepted because he had to. Hellboy's horns grow back to their full length and he transforms into his true form. He goes to the door and puts his right hand inside, opens the first key, the door opens to a void in space. The monster on the other side breaks the capsule he is in and starts to cross the world. Just as he is about to open the second door, Agent John tells him about his old memories, and Hellboy says his father didn't raise him for this. Hellboy breaks his horns and stabs Rasputin in the stomach. As Rasputin dies, the demon inside him comes out and quickly transforms into a giant monster. Hellboy grabs Agent John and Liz and escapes. Hellboy puts them in a safe place, then returns to destroy the monster. He starts to fight the monster hard, takes his sword from a statue and cuts off the monster's arms, but the monster grabs Hellboy at the first opportunity and lifts him up in the air, and just as he is about to throw him in his mouth, Hellboy pulls the pin of the grenade belt in his hand and goes down from the monster's stomach. But when the bombs explode, the monster flies into the air and the world gets rid of the dark monster. Hellboy goes to Liz for the last time and expresses his love to her dead body, and just as he is about to leave, Liz regains her soul because the monster is dead and comes to life, hugs Hellboy, and happy ending.